The scripture today is Leviticus 19:18. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. It's relatively easy to envision neighborly love. We wave to them and we see them outside. When they are not at home, we watch their house. We keep an eye on their children and pets. As neighbors, we have common interest in keeping our neighborhood clean and safe. And yet, one well-known phrase pertaining to our neighbors is, good fences make good neighbors. When we appreciate each other's privacy, we are setting boundaries that are beneficial to each party. We can limit who comes into our yard, who comes into our house. Part of being good neighbors is having boundaries that both parties understand. And our boundaries may differ with different neighbors. In a famous and much quoted decision from 1604, Coke declared that the house of everyone is to him as his castle and fortress, as well for defense against injury and violence as for his repose. This quote over the years has become simplified to, a man's home is his castle. And not just for physical security, but also for our tranquility. A place to rest, to find our peace, and physically and mentally taking a break from the outside world. There are many levels of boundaries in our homes. We have fences, outside doors with locks, inside doors with locks. Spaces we reserve for ourselves, like our favorite chair, our favorite place at the table. From a very early age, we learn about boundaries, sharing toys with playmates, learning what is proper to say in public and what is not. We learn that we act differently in other people's homes than our own. We are always continually learning what are the proper boundaries in all the facets of our life. When we have consistent ways of being, ways of treating others, ways of treating ourselves, other people learn to trust us, to count on us. Our ability to be consistent, reliable, and rational allows our relationships to grow. This dynamic of building and maintaining relationships is present in all parts of our lives. At work, at family, with friends, and very importantly, our relationship with a significant other. If we don't establish workable, healthy boundaries, life seems to have a way of setting them for us. When a person's or a group's behavior is out of line or out of the expected norms, others tend to put up boundaries for us. From the time we are very young and throughout our lives, the roles we play continue to change. When you are the new person at work, your role is much different than when you're the manager. A grandparent has a different role than a parent. We understand the roles we play will evolve, and at times we need to adjust our boundaries and expectations. A few years ago, the pandemic established new boundaries of conduct. COVID-19 necessitated a whole new paradigm. The expectations of personal space and proper behavior changed suddenly. The need for good fences was a tangible, serious health matter. All the people of the world shared a new relationship that required new boundaries. Everything, including loving our neighbors, became more complicated. When we love a person, we may be attracted to them because of their personality, their physical appearance, or maybe the way they make us feel. There are innumerable reasons why we might love another person. In any relationship, trust is a major factor. We learn to trust a person when they are consistent in the way they treat us, the way they react to our situations, the way they respect our own boundaries. We are attracted to people who are confident, honest, and say what they mean. The traits that are important when we explore why and how we love our neighbors or how we love another person also apply to loving ourselves. The scripture today You shall love your neighbor as you love yourself. The scripture directs our attention to the question, how do we love ourselves? There's an opening exercise that I use before many meditations. The intention is to prepare the mind and spirit for contemplation by engendering an attitude of acceptance, respect, and love for oneself. This is the opening. If you would close your eyes, and in your mind, slowly say your name. Just say your name to yourself and see how it feels. And then repeat in your thoughts after me. I accept myself just as I am. I respect myself for what I am and what I may become. And I love myself unconditionally. You can open your eyes. I've used this exercise with many individuals and groups over many years. Several people, after using this exercise for an extended period, have told me that there's part of these phrases they could not accept to believe, or believe to be true. They knew the phrases did not reflect the way they viewed themselves. And the phrases are simply, I accept, respect, and love myself. With their realization as a starting point, we could begin the process of understanding why that individual felt that way. These statements repeated in a contemplative state of mind opened the individual to their own subconscious feelings. They were able to explore how do they really feel about themselves at that subconscious level. There is truth in the old saying, you can't love someone else unless you love yourself. You are the center of your universe. Learning to love yourself unconditionally is a lifelong spiritual journey. Are you consistent with how you view and treat yourself? Do you have personal expectations of yourself that you honor? It is very hard to analyze ourselves in the first person. It's much easier to observe a friend's life experiences and understand why their personal journey has developed their unique personality. We are best friends. We understand them. How can we objectively try to analyze our relationship to ourselves? A part of the spiritual journey is to allow the meaning of the words in the exercise we did to evolve as we use that exercise, as we experience life. The meanings of those words will change to you. I'll repeat the opening that I use when preparing to enter a meditative or a contemplative state. And again, if you'd close your eyes, and then again, with your feeling, say your full name, including your middle name. Just say it in your mind. And continuing, I accept myself just as I am. I respect myself for what I am and what I may become. And love myself unconditionally. And again, opening your eyes. Using these phrases, contemplating them before meditation and prayer will automatically put the gears in motion to explore intuitively feelings and views you hold of yourself in your subconscious and your conscious. And people say 90% of our consciousness is subconscious. With the awareness of any non-productive views of yourself, you can be open to and understand where that error thinking originated and learn to transform that error thinking. We are all part of God. We're all directly connected to God. Anything between that is just some kind of life experience that got between you and the divine. An important part of the exercise is I respect myself for what I may become. We have control over all of our future decisions. our future decisions can be different from our past decisions. Our view of ourselves can change. Also helpful in understanding yourself is reading scripture and philosophy and comparing your viewpoints to other viewpoints. You can analyze your own beliefs and behaviors more clearly in relation to other points of view. With new understanding, you might find a very logical reason to alter thoughts and behaviors that are not serving you. We find specific scriptures and books speak to us at different times in our lives. We also find that revisiting something we have read before can shed new light on understanding that. Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius practiced Stoicism. Stoicism stressed the search for inner peace and ethical certainty despite the apparent chaos of the world. He did this by emulating in personal conduct the underlying orderliness and lawfulness of nature. Marcus Aurelius formed a philosophy that helped him make decisions. He made a commitment to virtue above pleasure and tranquility above happiness. I'll say that again. Virtue above pleasure and tranquility above happiness. In metaphysics, we often say happiness and pleasure are the result of just what is happening in the present, and usually does not have long-term effects. In this quote, I ascribe the personal traits of virtue and tranquility as a result of deliberate ways of being that were developed and practiced over many years. By developing and practicing determined ways of being, an individual has a North Star that is always a guiding light when making decisions. Being consistent in decision-making, an individual learns to trust and respect themselves. With trust and respect, confidence in yourself grows, just as it does when friends act consistently and predictably. Experiencing a deep trust and confidence in ourselves opens the door of acceptance, respect, and love for ourselves. The Beatitudes in Matthew chapter 5 from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount are a summary of ways of being. They can be interpreted in many ways. A large part of studying the Beatitudes is the necessity of forming a personal understanding of what Jesus is counseling. And it can be difficult. They're parables. You need to learn to apply them to your life. An example is the first Beatitude. Blessed are the humble, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. We could interpret humble in many ways. The Lambda Bible notates that in Aramaic, the word in the original text could be interpreted as unassuming. Unassuming, not feeling entitled to receive better treatment than other people, not feeling entitled to receive something with no effort. Learning to be content with what we have in the present. Being humble. Not being jealous of what others have. Being humble, being content, enables you to focus and be open to all the possibilities that the universe presents you. Blessed are the humble, the unassuming, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Accepting this moment just as it is, we can experience a consciousness of heaven, a consciousness of unconditional peace and love. Not in the afterlife, in the present. I titled this sermon Boundaries. We have a great example of some boundaries that have existed for eternity. When we purposely set our own boundaries and alter our habitual patterns, we build trust and confidence in ourselves. We experience the feeling of accomplishment when completing a personal goal or task that takes commitment and time. We're in the Lenten season, 40 days of fasting and prayer leading up to the celebration of Easter. Now, in the Irish tradition, today, St. Patrick's Day, you can take off the fasting and you can drink alcohol. So there's a reason why we have St. Patrick's Day and we all like it so much. But during Lent, we focus on our own spiritual understanding and nourishment. We focus on ourselves. We believe that the consciousness of heaven can be experienced while in our physical bodies. What emotion, habit, or view of yourself might be a bottleneck on your ability to experience this consciousness of heaven? Your next step, it may be as simple as learning to be more kind, patient, or considerate of yourself. What is it that adds a little anxiety to your life? When you can identify it, that's something you can focus your spiritual journey on. You might change your daily routine and allow time for spiritual focus during this period of Lent. You might reduce your television, your phone, or your social media time. Doing this could gently remind you of committing that time to a spiritual pursuit, to self-examination. You might wake up half an hour early and read, meditate, or pray. Altering a habitual pattern opens the possibility to new insights. In the 2 weeks remaining in Lent, you could devote time to an issue that is important to you. You can create a pattern that you can replicate on any issue. If in the next 2 weeks you just decide to be more kind to yourself, and in the next 2 weeks you prayed on it, thought about it, and in 2 weeks you really were more kind to yourself, then you could pick another issue. But putting the time and effort into it, researching it, do whatever you have to do. Because you're the only one that can do it. You know yourself better than anyone, and you're the only one that can do it. Experiencing results creates confidence. That's what's nice about Lent. It's only 40 days. You can set a time limit. It's not like for the rest of my life I'm going to be nice to my neighbor. No. I still have those times. Pick something you would like to explore about yourself. Could be anything. Something that is important to you, and hold yourself to your own standards. Write down your intention for the next 2 weeks and follow through. This is a tangible step you can take in setting personal boundaries and learning to accept, respect, and love yourself unconditionally. Blessings.